It's time for you to decide which LSAT you're going to take. Are you taking the LSAT in June with the logic games section, or are you taking it in August and beyond without the logic games section? Of course, law schools won't care which version of the LSAT you take, but you should care because it's going to make a big difference in how you perform. If you love logic games, if you're scoring great on them, and you don't like logical reasoning, and you've already been at this for a while, I would, of course, recommend that you take the LSAT in June. I would nail logic games, aim for perfection on that section. So again, you're going for the June LSAT if you're either amazing in logic games, terrible at logical reasoning, or both. However, I would instead go for August and beyond if I was pretty new to the LSAT, couldn't do well in logic games, and saw myself as being stronger in logical reasoning. Then of course you could devote the entire summer to mastering the logical reasoning section. Now, whether you're taking the LSAT in June, August, or beyond, you should probably go for logical reasoning as your focus for the studying going forward, either way. And here's why. If you're taking the LSAT in June, you probably like logic games, or else why wouldn't you wait to take the LSAT in August or beyond after they remove the logic games section? This means you probably don't love logical reasoning, at least not as much as you love logic games. So it makes sense for you to focus on the section you don't like rather than procrastinating on your weak areas by doing more of what you do like. In other words, if you're taking the LSAT in June, you should probably stop focusing on logic games just because you like it, and instead focus more on what you really need to be working on, like logical reasoning and reading comp. And I know that someone out there is feeling called out right now, like, how do you know that was me? So if that's you, drop a comment right now to let me know. So we've established here that if you're taking the LSAT in June, you're going to want to focus on logical reasoning because you need the work there more than you need it in logic games. The other reason is that if you're taking the LSAT in August, the importance of logical reasoning is doubled because they are replacing the logic games section with a second scored logical reasoning section starting in August. So logical reasoning starting in August is going to be 2/3 of the test, and any gains you make in that section will be automatically doubled across the two sections of the exam logical reasoning. And at LSAT Unplugged, by the way, we're still covering logic games in our live classes, but we're also giving additional classes in logical reasoning for those who want to give this section more focus, either because it's a weak area or because logical reasoning will be doubled starting in August. So to that end, I'm going to share 3 quick wins for logical reasoning you can implement right away to give yourself a big boost in your score. One is that you want to make sure that you are crystal clear on the difference between necessary assumption questions and sufficient assumption questions. They both might use the word assumption in the question stem, but they are asking for radically different things. This is a quick win that can give you an easy boost in your score. It's low-hanging fruit for a lot of students who are confused because a lot of prep companies mistakenly conflate the two types under the catch-all category of assumption questions, when in reality they are asking for very different things. Similarly, you also want to make sure that you are clear on the difference between must-be true questions and most strongly supported questions. These both fall within the umbrella category of inference questions, but again, they are asking for very different things. Finally, a lot of students have difficulty with weakened questions in logical reasoning because they fail to recognize that weakening an argument does not necessarily mean that you have to destroy the argument. So consider, what is the bar you have to meet in order for an answer choice to fulfill the objective of the question stem. So as always, there are 15 different types of logical reasoning questions, and you want to make sure that you understand the proper perspective from which to view each question type. Now, not all of these 15 question types show up in equal proportion. However, some are more frequent than others, and you want to make sure that you master the most common types of logical reasoning questions before dealing with the ones that hardly ever show up. In our courses at LSAT Unplugged, of course, we cover all 15 different types of logical reasoning questions, but the most important types are where you want to start, especially if you're scoring below 160. The most common types of logical reasoning questions are necessary assumption, inference, and flaw. So start there if you are below 160. However, if you are scoring 160 or above, it's time for you to take your prep to the next level and start thinking about methods of reasoning in the stimulus, not just about the question stem type. If you're looking to take your prep to the next level, if you are shooting for 170 or above and are already scoring in the 160s, you're going to want to reach out to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out in taking your prep to the next level. And of course, you're going to want to make sure that you're clear on the methods of reasoning that show up most often going forward on the LSAT. There are some unique types of reasoning that LSAT is going to be testing more often going forward. With the removal of the logic game section, they're going to be testing more questions involving formal logic, numbers versus percentages, and absolute versus relative values. So if you're looking for help with that, again, you could check out the links below. We'd be glad to help. And in the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.